You're listening to the Real Longevity Podcast, your number one podcast resource for living a longer life. Here we discuss topics on personal fitness, longevity, and real lasting elevation of mind, body, and spirit. Join us as we build a community of healthy men and women enjoying lasting levels of real health and vitality. If you're currently feeling frustrated with pain, flat, or fed up with aging faster than you actually are, you're invited to join us each and every week here on the Real Longevity Podcast. Welcome to the Real Longevity family and get ready to live a life you truly love. Welcome back to the Real Longevity Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hendricks, and today we have another outstanding, informative, and elevating show for you. I'd like to welcome all first-time listeners to the podcast, and be sure to stay to the end of the show where I'll be sharing all my social media and connection links where you can connect with me and the Real Longevity Podcast community. How are you doing? Hope you're well. Hope you're staying blessed. Today we are talking about the ultimate trophy. Now, you may be aware that currently the Winter Olympic Games are on, and that means athletes from all over the world are competing for medals and honors. Now, when I'm talking about the ultimate trophy, it's not a gold medal I'm referring to specifically. It's not a marathon or personal best or going fastest down the giant slalom ski slope or a personal best as in lifting anything in the gym. It's something, the ultimate trophy, I refer to functional freedom. Simply put, functional freedom is your ability to move around your environment with ease, to live without that consistent background noise that many people struggle with, of those aches and pains, that stiffness, that restricted movement, and ultimately physical limitations. It's a difference between it being able to play with your grandkids on the floor or watching from the couch, getting up and down out of the toilet seat or in and out of your car. It's a difference between going on those long adventure walks or just being able to move around, picking things up without any strains or aches or pains. So if you think about the metaphor I'm using here is about life being a sport. Think about it as you as being an athlete, you being someone who's competing in the game or the sport of life. And your season isn't just 60 minutes or 90 minutes, it's your entire life. Yeah. You want to be able to train for life. You want to be able to train for the sport of living well. Yeah. The game is 24/7 in terms of it's constant. It's always going on. It's not just a short period of time of 60 or 90 minutes. And your field of sport or your playing area of sport is your environment. You know, it's going to the grocery or the supermarket. It's getting in and out of your car, as I touched on. It's doing some gardening. It's going out for long walks and taking the stairs at home, all done with freedom of movement. Now you have to ask yourself, are you able to do that at the moment? If you aren't training, it's going to compromise your ability to move beyond your environment freely. And you can think of that in terms of this metaphor that I'm using. It's like turning up to a big competition or the quarterfinals or semi-finals of a big competition without any preparation if you're not doing the right type of training. So today we're going to get you to change that if you find yourself in a similar situation. We're going back to finding and helping you find that functional freedom. See it almost like a playbook so you can work through that sport of life with ease. So today's topic is find your functional freedom. 4 steps to succeed in the sport of life. Find your functional freedom. 4 steps to succeed in the sport of life. So let's dive in. So step number 1 is cardiovascular health. Now you can have, really good looking body. It looks the part, and we see this many times on social media, people, air quotes, looking the part. But unless you have the right fuel and the right pump and the right cardiorespiratory system, it's going to fail. So cardiovascular health is step number 1. It's about improving the heart's and the cardiorespiratory's ability to circulate oxygenated blood optimally around the body to the working muscles. Improving that, what we call, in terms of technical terms, the mitochondrial efficiency, so it can work at its optimum best. It's basically developing your endurance to do things without getting out of breath in a few seconds. Now, a lot of people don't have good heart health, and that's where they struggle. So doing simple things like walking up and down a flight of stairs, doing a little bit of physical work over a prolonged period of time, they struggle to do that. So we want to build a good, resilient, robust aerobic or cardiovascular ability. So how do we do that is a question. Now, again, I'm not going to go into much technical detail. If you want me to go into much more detail, leave me a comment or send me an email. I'll leave my contact details and I'll do that for you. So I'm just going to give you an overview. Now, these techniques have been popularized by many speakers in the area of longevity. I'm not going to name any specific people or persons right now, but generally the science all points to the same things. It's talking about zone training, zones 1 through to zones 4/zones 5. You may have heard these terms used before. And simply put, there's specific areas or ranges that your heart rate is working at, or percentages of your heart rate is working at when you're doing or engaging in cardiovascular exercise or cardiorespiratory exercise. Now, the foundation for good heart health is being cited as being in zone 2. So zone 2 is steady state aerobic exercise. It's defined, if you want to put it in simple terms, as a highest level of exertion where you can still maintain a conversation. So I always talk about with my clients, conversational exercise. Can you have a conversation, talk, but still be working optimally? Okay. So this is a real good zone or real good ability level or intensity level that's going to help your body to burn off fat more efficiently than glucose. And as I mentioned about that mitochondria efficiency, it's going to train your body to be more efficient in that area. So can you work at a level where you're conversing, having a conversation, and you can just about maintain that? That's what we would term zone 2 training, and that's going to develop your cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory ability. We also know that by doing this on a regular basis, your heart is going to get stronger. You're going to develop a more efficient cardiorespiratory ability. And we want to be looking to do this 2 to 3 times a week, if at all possible, if that fits in with you. Now, when we look at doing zone 2 training, we also want to think about VO2 max training. Now, this is something that is quite intense. And again, I'm not going to get into the science of that now, but the two together, zone 2 training and VO2 max training, that's going to give you much better cardiorespiratory ability. So that is step number 1, developing cardiovascular health. See that as almost like the engine, your ability to do things without getting out of breath. Okay. Number 2, we're going to look at improving mobility and stability. So this is key in terms of the way we move around. So if we see cardiovascular health and cardiovascular ability as the engine in our vehicle, mobility and stability are almost like the suspension systems and the alignment, making sure that the car can go around the track efficiently, if you want to stick with that car analogy. Yeah. So mobility is your joint's ability to move through its full range of movement or its full range of motion. And stability is your ability to control that movement. Now, without these, your body will compromise and compensate, and that can lead to aches, pains, and stresses and strains on the body. Things such as lower backache, knee pain, those things we want to avoid. So we want to make sure the body has good mobility and stability. So we have good, nice, fluid, flowing movement when we're doing things. Examples are getting in and out of a car. Those some things that I know a lot of people might take for granted, but especially as you get older and your mobility and stability might be compromised or might be reduced. Can you do that? Can you swing that leg out of the side of the car and stand up, pivot, and lift yourself up without grabbing hold of the handle, especially if that foot is placed down on an unstable or uneven surface. Yeah. So put that weight through the leg and then stand up. That's just a simple everyday action of developing or displaying good mobility and stability. Another example is for reaching for something heavy overhead. So it could be like a glass bowl or, I don't know, maybe a tin of paint that you're trying to get down from a shelf. Can you reach up high, stretch? It's good, displaying good mobility in your shoulders and your upper back. And then can you reach and then pull that down safely, balancing maybe on your tiptoes briefly, and then bringing it down into a safe place on the table or on the floor. That's another good example of how good mobility and good stability will serve you. So you think of those two examples for yourself. Is that something that you can do? If not, we need to look at ways that we can help you to improve your mobility and stability. So that's number 2, making sure we have good mobility and stability, so our mechanics are good. Okay, moving on to step number 3. This is core strength. So we need to have good core strength. And if you think about core strength, it's the ability to bridge your upper body movements with your lower body. Yeah. If you're thinking about when we're talking about life being a sport, almost every activity involves core. So we need to have good core. Now, when I'm talking about core, I know a lot of people think about just the abdominals or the six-pack area. But if you think about the muscles that run along the spinal column, the muscles that sit deep within the abdominal wall, the muscles that help to rotate the body, so the internal, external obliques, these are all muscles that constitute the core. The pelvic floor is included in that as well. So if we have a good core area or good core strength or good core ability, it helps to protect the spine and helps to transfer power from the upper body and the lower body in an efficient way. It's almost like a bridge, and making sure that bridge is nice and strong, so it minimizes the risk of these injuries that can occur that we spoke about. If that's not the case, we can think of the system being compromised, and even worst case scenario, collapses or doesn't work efficiently. So when we have good core strength, people often think about it as just having a good six-pack, that nice flat washboard stomach, but that's not actually the case. We're looking at something or a system that stabilizes the body and helps us move efficiently through our example. An example would be good core strength. If you can picture yourself on a bus or a train and you stood up and you're holding onto the handles or a support bar, and that train stops or that bus stops suddenly, if you've got good core strength, you would look to engage those muscles to help you brace and stop you from falling over. People with weak or poor or compromised core stability would struggle, or core strength would struggle in that environment. Again, something like picking up your groceries or your shopping. Can you do that without any stress or strain on the low back? Engaging the core muscles, helping to bend forward in the correct posture, picking those items up. Again, all an example of good core strength. Or something simple like pushing, think about when you go on holidays, or these hotels have those big, heavy glass doors. Pushing those doors without leaning on and straining, just engaging the core muscles, pushing it through, walking. Again, that would be considered as another example of good core strength. So think of those examples. Are there things that you can do? If not, you need to think about how you can look to improve those moving forward. And the final step is good muscular strength. Yeah. Strength is the ultimate insurance policy against aging. We know that, and it's going to help you move around your environment with much more competence and confidence. Yeah. When we lose that muscular strength, we don't trust our bodies to the same degree. So it's very important that we look to maintain good levels of strength so we can get around our environment with a good level of confidence, and we can trust our bodies to do the things that we know. We know as we get older, we can naturally lose muscle mass. The term is called sarcopenia. But as you've heard me talk about many times before on the Real Longevity podcast, we want to be building muscles, and resistance training is the key to do that. Lifting weights, working with and against gravity. It's one of the things I talk about in terms of Pilates training that I love to do. It helps to build good, strong muscles, helps to align the body. And also, that's why I like to pick up heavy things, picking up weights, doing things such as deadlifts and presses and so on and so forth. Those exercises are going to make you strong. So if you think about how you can challenge yourself with resistance training, That's a great way that you're going to help to build your muscular strength, seize the armor so you can confidently, competently move around your environment free from pain, free from restrictions, and free from worrying about how your body's going to respond. So we're talking about today the sport of life, yeah? This is our metaphor that we use in terms of functional freedom. How you can get around your environment and find your functional freedom, your 4 steps to succeed in the sport of life. Life is a game. Life is a sport. So we need to equip ourselves, just like the athletes that are currently competing in the Winter Olympics. They train for these events. They don't just rock up and hope that they're going to do well. And you need to do the same because you're playing the sport or the game of life. And we've talked about these 4 steps. Now, I am going to give you a bonus, which is very important as well, that you need to apply when you're talking about playing the sport of life. But let's just have a quick summary of what we're talking about here in terms of playing the sport of life. So we've talked about building your engine with cardiovascular health. That's step 1. So making sure you have good cardiovascular ability, developing your heart health. Number 2, we spoke about tuning your mechanics and making sure you're able to move around your environment free and well with good mobility and good stability. We spoke about core strength, developing good core strength, making sure that your bridge between your upper body and lower body is well, so you can move efficiently and effectively and have confidence in the areas of holding yourself well with good posture and good dynamic movement in and around your environment. And then we talked finally about your muscular strength, making sure that you have that confidence and trust in your body that you can move well because your body is strong, robust, and resilient. Now, the bonus step, if you like, the X factor, and the athletes that are going to be winning the gold, silver, the bronze in these athletes, in these events, and you can see in your sport of life the same, is the mental strength factor. You look about the X factor. There's very, very small difference in these athletes when they get to the elite level, but the ones that do succeed and do well have got that X factor, and that's a mental strength. So you need to think about how you can improve your mental resilience and your mental robustness in order to make sure that you're playing the game of life to the best of your ability. So, there will be days when you're playing, or you're doing life and you're just getting on with things. There are going to be days where you don't feel on top form. There are going to be days when you maybe feel a little bit more tired than normal. There may be days where you feel a little bit stiff and tired, and maybe days where you want to quit or you're not wanting to do the things that you want to do. But functional freedom requires that discipline. So you're thinking always about the future you, who you are being, who you are becoming. Yeah. It's not about sitting in the comfort zone and doing what the rest of people do. You're here listening on the Real Longevity podcast because you want to improve, you want to elevate mind, body, and spirit. So it's having that discipline, that mental discipline to do the things on a daily basis that's going to help you find your functional freedom so you can move through your daily activities. You can move through this game of life, this sport of life, without pain, without aches, or minimizing those aches and pains. Because there are going to be times when you're going to need your body. There are going to be times when you're going to have to test yourself in a certain environment. But if you've been having that discipline of doing the work, you've been doing mobility exercises, you've been doing strength training exercises, you've been doing your cardiovascular exercises consistently on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, that's going to put you in much better position. So when you do need to be called, body does need to be called upon, you have the confidence and the competence and the ability to do what it needs to do. So that mental strength is something we need to factor in as well when it comes to our functional freedom. Those 4 steps to make sure that we are in an environment where we're making sure that we are doing the things that we need to do so we can find that functional freedom and live life on our terms. But I want to know what you think. Do you have what it takes to apply those 4 steps to succeed in the sport of life? I want you to reach out to me and let me know. You can catch me on all my social media profiles. I'm going to leave all the links in the show notes so you can find me. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just look for Mike Hendricks. You can find me on Facebook, Mike Bobby Hendricks. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. Just look for Built Fit for Life or Hendricks Holistic or Be Built for Life on any of those handles. But I said I will leave them all in the show notes so you can reach out to me, connect me, and let me know. Are you winning in the sport of life? Are you applying the 4 steps to find functional freedom in your life? Reach out to me. Join us on the Real Longevity Podcast. Again, if you'd like to work together, find out how you can really step up and elevate and upgrade your fitness and well-being and live life on your terms and find your fitness through freedom. Again, I'll leave the application form in the show notes. Okay, so if you are ready to stop on the sidelines and start winning in sports, you know what to do. So that's it for today. I trust you found today's episode insightful, informative, and uplifting. And remember to leave us a 5-star review. Doing so helps to spread the word of the Real Longevity Podcast so we reach out to more people and they can enjoy what we're doing over here and elevating mind, body, and spirit. Okay, until next time, guys, remember, stay functional, stay free. We'll see you on the next episode. Be well, be wise, be cool, be calm, and keep it real. Blessings and chi. It is done. Peace.